let me continue with this kind of thing. Okay. When you discuss what is philosophy or doing what is involved in doing philosophy, the best way is to start with what it is not. Because if we say what it is not, that will shed some light on what it is. Philosophy is not a collection of opinions, not a body of knowledge to be memorized, not an empirical inquiry into the nature of the world, not a body of doctrine or important activity. So, philosophy is basically an activity. It's an activity that plays a very transformational role in our life. As you all know, philosophy begins with wonder. Philosophy asks very fundamental and ultimate questions of life. Philosophical questions are, in a sense, Socratic questions. What Socrates used to ask is the philosophical questions remain in principle open questions where informed, rational, and honest disagreement is possible. Even after all the relevant observations and calculations have become available, we can still say that we must respect the opinion of others. Catholicity should be encouraged or in philosophical deliberations and philosophical discussions. Now, there is a pattern of questions which are of philosophical. There are some examples which you all know. Is pleasure the best thing in life? Do animals have rights? Are human beings all equal? Could mind survive when the body is dead? Does God exist? Does life have a meaning? Well, these questions cannot be answered by science. Questions which cannot be answered by science, they are taken up by philosophy. So, we have an area, domain, where philosophers have a right to discuss these questions and science cannot answer these questions. The question of freedom and free will and determinism, or the question regarding whether God exists or not. When you hold an opinion, you have to hold it rationally with your sufficient justification and on the grounds of your critical thinking and other things. Now, the philosophical questions, they have a particular form. The form of the question is that when certain things are possible, how certain things are possible given some other things. Take, for example, the problem of evil. How is evil possible given that there is an omnipotent and benevolent God? If God is a benevolent and omnipotent, all powerful and all kind, then evil cannot be there. So it is a question how these two can be reconciled. How is motion possible given Zeno's argument? How is free action possible given the thesis of determinism? These are some of the model questions. As you know, philosophical inquiry relies primarily on critical thinking. We analyze the meaning of concepts, identify logical connections between theories, evaluate arguments and expose fallacies. So logic is the tool. The method of philosophizing is critical reasoning or critical thinking, and critical thinking is nothing but logical applied logic. So, but there are also other methods, not only argumentative, but also one can make a comparative study, interpretative study, and what major work is on application of critical thinking and critical inquiry. So, the patterns of philosophical questions, they have some forms. We ask, what does X mean? How can X be described? What are the component parts of X? What are the parts of X or component parts of types of X? How does X compare with Y? How can X be interpreted? What is the value of X? How can X be summarized? So these are the ways in which when you do philosophy, we try to defend our position with reasons, relevant information and arguments. We define the key concepts, identify, formulate and respond to the potential objections to our position. We question everything. We question authorities, every claim, no matter where it comes from what source it comes from, is subject to scrutiny in philosophy. Common sense may not be taken for granted, because philosophy is a critic of common sense also. So, but there have been skeptics, those who have said that philosophy has no use. Remember Hume's view. When you run over libraries persuaded of these principles, what havoc must we make? If we take in our hand any volume of divinity or school metaphysics, let us ask, does it contain any abstract reasoning concerning quantity and number? Does it contain any experimental reasoning concerning matters of fact and existence? If the answer is negative, then it will be foolish to, then Hume would advise that commit them to flames. But if the answer is negative, then it would be foolish to follow Hume's advice. Commit it then to them to the flame. For it can contain nothing but sophistry and illusion. For we would be now throwing the baby along with the bathwater if we follow Hume's advice. Many questions that are not answerable by means of empirical or logico-mathematical information. Hume made this bifurcation. They are the important things, are also matters for sophistry, are not matters of sophistry and illusion. They are meant for philosophizing. So Hume has been followed by the positivists, who also declared that empirical statements and the statements of mathematics or logic, they exhaust all meaningful discourse. The rest are sophistry and illusion according to the positivists. Similar views have been provided by some physicists. They would say that philosophy is dead because all important questions can be answered, if at all they can be answered by science, and there is no role for philosophy. Hawking, in the very first paragraph of his book, Grand Design, he makes this kind of pronouncement, that philosophy is dead. Now, but as you all agree that philosophizing is an important work, and we cannot say that it is not useful. And towards the last part of my talk, I will be pointing this out, what is the importance of these deliberations and discuss. When you philosophize, how should you philosophize? Make a clear statement of our objective, say how you are going to answer the question and what approach you intend to take. Ask questions, because that is how philosophy is done. That is how Socrates was doing philosophy. Right, asking the right question will bring your focus into subject into focus and provide you with the material to develop your topic. And another very important part of philosophizing is conducting thought experiments. This is my favorite topic. Conducting thought experiments in philosophy, you will find that almost all branches of philosophy have their thought experiments. Whether in epistemology or in metaphysics or in ethics, wherever you go, the points are made clear by a series of thought experiments. A thought experiment is a hypothetical situation in which a hypothesis, theory, or principle is laid out for the purpose of thinking through its consequences. It involves counterfactual speculations such as what might have happened if A had happened instead of B. So this question, A নহইলে B, A নহি B ହେଇଥାନ୍ତା. If A, instead of A happening, B would have happened, then what would have happened? What would have occurred? This question is a pattern of thought experiment. Now, I am reminded of a joke about the use of these thought experiments. Some would say that thought experiments are the essence of philosophizing. A boy was going on a date with a girl and he sought advice. What you talk about? What questions he can ask to the girl to start the discussion, to conversation. To start a conversation, the conversation starter, he said that food, family, and philosophy. They are the three topics on which you can start your conversation. And he said that, so the boy followed this advice and he asked the girl when the time came to start the conversation. He said, do you like rasgullas? Food. First question is about food. So suppose she asks, do you like rasgullas? She says no. So he could not proceed with that question. Then he asks, do you have a brother, family? Food, family, and philosophy. Then his second question he asked, do you have a brother? The girl said, no, I don't have any brother. Then the last resort was to ask a philosophical question. He says, if you had a brother, would you have liked rasgullas? So the first question, do you like rasgullas? The answer was negative. Second question, do you have a brother? The answer was negative. So he put it in a hypothetical form. If you had a brother, would he have liked it like rasgullas? And that is philosophy according to some. That is a kind of thought experiment. You are imagining a hypothetical situation, thinking what would happen if certain things would happen there. So philosophers have been doing a lot of thought experiments. And this is not the essence of philosophizing, but it is a very major part of philosophizing. Now, there are many thought experiments, and some thought experiments which I can just narrate here is the trolley problem in ethics, then Jackson's Mary, the color scientist in philosophy of mind, Thompson's violinist, that is in ethics and in the debate of abortion, Getier's knowledge argument in epistemology, where we say that what knowledge is justified through belief, and that is being criticized. And also we have this last man thought experiment in environmental ethics. We have many. There are hundreds and hundreds of thought experiments, but we don't have time to go through all these things, but I'll just highlight some of them. The trolley problem. You know, that is one way of doing ethics is by citing this. There are many thought experiments. The trolley problem is one where we raise the ethical dilemma whether to sacrifice one person to save a large number. The scenario is like this: a runaway tram or trolley is on course to collide with and kill a number of people down the track. 5 persons are working in front of the trolley, but You are a bystander there. You can intervene. You can divert the trolley to another direction where there is one person working. So if you divert the trolley to a different track, then one person will be killed. These 5 persons will be saved. What will do? What is the right thing to do? You can't say that I will not do anything, because even if you do not do anything, then you are also, in a sense, responsible for what is happening, because you have the capacity to do something. And omission is as much a crime as commission in certain situations. Then naturally you will say that if you are a utilitarian, you will say that 5 is more than 1. So we should save 5 lives even if one person is killed. But there are other variations of this trolley problem, where your intuition, ethical intuition, that we should sacrifice one person to save 5, that does not hold. Suppose that you are standing on over a bridge, railway bridge, that is over the track, and again a trolley is coming with force. You have somebody by your side, a fat man is by your side. If you push the fat man, then the fat man will fall on the track and it will stop the trolley from going right. So here you can just sacrifice this person to save 5 who are working there. Will you do it? But here most of the persons will say no. Our intuition does not allow us to do this. Our moral intuition, conscience, we can say, that tells us not to do this. No, you should not push the fat man. So what should you do? Now there is a kind of, we call it trolleyology, where people do debate about these things, and then various options are there. Then this continues. There is also there is another thought experiment in philosophy, and when you do philosophy, you can also do this kind of thought experiments. Jackson's Mary, the color scientist. Mary is a color scientist. He knows everything physics and neurosciences can possibly know about colors, but she has grown up in a colorless environment. She has been confined to a room where only black things are there, black, white, and gray things are there. Now, Mary, all of a sudden, she comes out of the room, and for the first time, she sees red tomato, red flower, blue things. So she knows what it is like to experience these things, colors. Now, she was debarred from seeing these things. There are other versions where she is a color-blind person. Now she regains her color vision. Either way, a person who did not have color perception, now she is seeing things in color. What would you say? Would you say that Mary has got some new knowledge? Now, this is an argument for qualia as something over and above the physical. Like Hegel, it is said that she knows now what it is like to experience red. So then we have another thought experiment that is very interesting. That is Thompson's violinist. Judith Thompson provided this thought experiment, the most striking and effective thought experiment in morality. Her example is aimed at a popular anti-abortion argument that goes something like this. Those who are against abortion, they argue that the fetus is an innocent person. All innocent persons have a right to life. Abortion results in the death of a fetus. Therefore, abortion is morally wrong. This is the argument pattern. In her thought experiment, Thompson asks us to imagine a famous violinist falling into a coma. The Society of Music Lovers, they determine from medical records that you and you alone can save the violinist's life by being hooked up to him for 9 months. In the process of hooking yourself to him, he will get cured, and then you can release yourself, remove yourself from that, detach yourself from the violinist. The music lovers break into your home while you are asleep and hook the unconscious violinist to you. You may want to know why. You may want to unhook him, the violinist, but you are then faced with this argument put forward by the music lovers, like the argument of the anti-abortionists. The violinist is an innocent person. All innocent persons have a right to life. Unhooking him will result in his death. Therefore, unhooking him is morally wrong. Now, do you agree with this view? If you say that no, I have a right to not to hook myself to the violinist, then you are saying that you must point out how this thought experiment is different from and the abortion. There is some defect in the abortion argument, anti-abortion argument, that you can challenge the premises like the fetus is an innocent person. You can say that fetus is not a person. You can say that even if it is an innocent person, they do not have a right to life because that conflicts with my right to my life, my comforts. So this way, Thompson's violence argument has been posed. Then we have this Getier's knowledge argument. Edmund Gettier, famous philosopher. He wrote a 3-page article only that was published in Analysis that changed the whole atmosphere in theory of knowledge. Knowledge is claimed to be equivalent to justified true belief. That is from time of Plato. We have been saying that knowledge is justified true belief. They may differ what actually is justification, but this is how JTB, justified true belief, JTB, the analysis of knowledge, justification, truth and belief are 3 requirements for something to be called knowledge. If it is believed but it is not true, it is not knowledge. If it is true but not believed, then also it is not knowledge. If it is true and believed but you have no justification for saying this, then also it is not knowledge. Gettier pointed out some cases where JTB is fulfilled. Justification is there, belief is true, yet we will not be saying that it is knowledge. He has given some counter arguments, counter situations where you are justified and the statement is true, but it is not the proper justification. It is arrived at the wrong way. Suppose you hear from somebody, some media, that Ukraine war has stopped. and you have faith in that the evidence of that, and suppose it has been stopped, and your belief is true, and you have justified because you have heard it from the media. But actually, what happens that this media person, when he reported, something after that also has happened. Some further consequences have occurred. So again, the war started and again stopped because of some other thing. So there are 3 stages: war stopped, you are reported, then some other thing happened, the war continued, again that you did not know. Then ultimately suppose the war has stopped. But when you report, you are reporting it on the basis of the first information. You do not have access to the second information, and you will not say that you know it. What you say is true. Suppose that the war has stopped. It is true, and you believe it is true, and you have whatever evidence is required, you have this evidence or justification. But with these things also, you cannot claim that it is a case of knowledge. There are many examples which Gettier has given, and many others also have formulated Gettier examples. Suppose there are 2 brothers, they have decided that they are twins. One of them got a call for a viva interview. The father was happy, so he gave money for a pair of new suit. But because his twin brother is there, he gave money for both the brothers to go and stitch the 2 suits. So these 2 brothers, they go for stitching of the 2 suits. They buy the same cloth, same quality, same color, same shop. They go to the same tailor, they order their suits, and both come. But in the process, the younger brother, the brother who has got a call from Public Service Commission or some other place for viva, and who was supposed to wear the suit, he was just practicing it, how he would not feel very uncomfortable in the interview with a new suit. So he started wearing the suit before that. But in the process, it got drenched. He was walking, and a vehicle passed by his side, and there was some water on the potholes were there, and on the pothole, the water came and fell on his suit. So he could not use his suit to go to the meeting. He came to his brother and he wore his suit. He asked, "Can you lend your suit?" He said, "Yes, why not? Take it." And they are of the same, they are twins. They are the same size, same weight, same figure. And he takes his brother's suit and goes to the meeting. And one who has seen this earlier, that they have gone to the market, they have purchased the cloth, they have given to the tailor. So all these things he has seen. So you have every justification saying that he is wearing a new suit which he has purchased. But actually he is not wearing the suit which he has purchased. He is wearing the suit which his brother has purchased. And here he is justified in saying that you are justified in saying that he is wearing the new suit which he has purchased, because he has purchased 2 suits, and the suit is it is true and belief is true and he is justified. But again, he is not doing that thing. He is wearing his brother's suit. So here JTB analysis fails. There must be some other thing to justify, to distinguish this from true case of knowledge. This is not a case of, we can say that yes, he knows. The person who claims that he is wearing the suit he has purchased to go to the meeting, that he is doing that. So these are the things which you can say then we have this one more thought experiment I will just enumerate, because when you do philosophy, these are the very important things which you can do to practice philosophy. The last man thought experiment in environmental ethics, which is also my favorite subject and also favorite thought experiment. Richard Sylvan, actually environmental ethics started with this publication of this article, or they just coincided. When he presented this paper, he said that there is a need for a new ethics, environmental ethics. That is the title of his paper. That there is a need for a new ethics, that we cannot, the traditional ethics, we say that human beings are the object of moral concern. They are the objects of moral deliberation, moral concern, that they alone have moral status. Now, Sylvan's argument, the thought experiment was aimed at pointing out that this cannot be the case. He conducts a thought experiment. He says, imagine that the entire human race has gone extinct. You are the last man, with the exception of one person or one man. He calls it last man, but the sexist language, you can say last person. So let us stick to that. Everybody has become extinct except one person, the last man. There is no hope for humankind to continue. He is soon going to die. These are all we have to imagine these things. We know as a matter of certainty that when this person dies, so too does the human race. We can just modify it a bit more, that all sentient beings also are going to die along with him. If all sentient beings and all human beings are dead except him, and he is going to die soon, now the last person, this last man, he starts doing one thing. He said that let me enjoy, because I am the only person who is alive, and all these things will be useless after I die, because there will be nobody to enjoy these things. Neither human beings nor other sentient beings will be there. Only plants and other things can be there. He makes it his purpose to eliminate painlessly and efficiently as much life on earth as possible. He is dead, other things are dead. If every living thing, animal, plant, all these things are painlessly put to death, not plants, let us confine to our sentient beings, what would be your reaction? Such a person, if he goes on merrymaking, destroying everything, is he doing the right thing? Now everybody will agree that the last man is doing something morally wrong. He has no business in destroying the world. Let it be there. If you are going to die, why should you take away the lives of other things and the world, destroy the world? Now, these are the experiments. These thought experiments, they have certain characteristics. They are very rich in the sense that you can make modifications, alterations and permutations. This thought experiment, last man thought experiment, has been combined, has been revised into various forms. Not only human beings are dead, but that all animals are also dead. Not only animals are dead, all sentient beings, like those who have the power to feel pain and pleasure, sentient beings are dead. Even the plants also who do not have sensations, do not have capacity to feel pain and pleasure, they also let them flourish, they let them be there. So if they can be taken into consideration. So this is one way of doing philosophy, is conducting thought experiments. And these thought experiments is a very good way of doing philosophy, and also in philosophy classes, in most of the subjects. These questions this is a very good starter. You can start the discussion by posing the thought experiments. And remember, these thought experiments are quite versatile. They can undergo various combinations, and as I told you in case of trolley problem, the example is changed to the example where you push a fat man. The result is same. You are killing one person to save 5. When you divert the trolley is killing one person, it goes in another track and kills one person who is working there and save 5. When you push a fat man who is standing by your side, remember you are not that strong or very fat, so you can't stop. If you fall yourself, you will not be able to, if you fall down, you will not be able to save the trolley from going ahead. So a very big fat man is necessary. Suppose a fat man is standing by your side, and if you can push him, he will stop the trolley from proceeding ahead. Will you do it? Our intuition says that no. Then we have this, in ethics we have a discussion about doctrine of double effects. You intend to do one thing, but in the process something else also occurs. When in case of a mother who aborts because of your health conditions, she is going to die if she does not abort. So the aim of the person, the doctor and the person who is aborting, is the intention is to save her life, to not to kill the fetus. The killing of the fetus is just a side effect. So this way, you are not killing the fetus. The fetus gets killed when you try to save the mother. So the doctrine of side effect, doctrine of double effect, is sometimes proposed to give an account of this trolley problem. In one case, you are diverting the train to save the 5 persons. By chance, there is another person in the other track. So that is just happening because you are trying to save these 5 persons. So your intention is aimed at saving the 5, not at killing the other. So, as in case of abortion, when a mother's life is saved by aborting a child, a fetus, your intention is not to kill the fetus. Your intention is to save the mother. So many ethicists, they take recourse to the doctrine of double effect to make room for this kind of permitting this. But when you push the fat man, sorry, when you push the fat man who is standing by your side, your intention is to push him, to kill him, so that 5 persons will be saved. So it is a part of your intention. If you accidentally push this person, that is different. But you are intentionally pushing the fat man to save the 5 persons. So you are killing one person to save 5. Here your killing is intentional. But in the case of the trolley, when you divert the trolley, your intention is to save the 5 persons. Accidentally, there is a person present on the other side. Even if you notice it, you know that this is a necessary condition, because there are only one alternative. You have to divert this trolley to save these 5 persons. So your intention is directed towards saving the 5, not at killing the person. And you will be the happiest person if the other person gets, or somehow he is allotted by some other thing, or he just jumps to the rail track and he is also saved. And you would be happy if you find this out afterwards, that this person has not been killed, he has escaped. But in the case of the fat man, you directly intend to kill the person, to push the person, so that he will fall, he will stop the train, and 5 persons will be saved. So there is a difference between these two. In the case of the trolley problem, where you divert the trolley, the intention is to save the 5. But here, in the case when you push the fat man, your intention is also aimed at killing this person. You are killing him, intentionally killing him, so that they will be now with this I think I should stop, because I would stop with some further elaborations. You know that philosophy is worth doing because, as Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. There are deeper issues of life that needs to be addressed. It explores how to live a good life. It is worth doing because we have decisions to make, evidence to weigh, opinions to assess, mysteries to contemplate, a world to understand, a life to live, worthy living, a life to live, a worthy life. Now, philosophy has many advantages, like philosophy broadens our understanding and develops one's capacities for critical thinking, which have been emphasized again and again. Philosophy broadens one's intellectual horizon. Properly pursued, it enhances analytical skill, critical and interpretive capacities that are applicable to any subject matter, not only in philosophy, but in other branches also. So philosophy students are better in management and other areas, which Professor Mahapatra has been emphasizing all the time, that philosophy also has this advantage, that it cultivates the capacities and the appetite for self-expression and reflection, for exchange and debates of ideas, for lifelong learning, for dealing with problems for which there are no easy answers. It also helps to prepare oneself for the tasks of citizenship, good citizenship. Participation in political and community affairs today is all too often insufficiently informed, manipulable, and vulnerable to demagoguery. A good philosophical education enhances the capacity to participate responsibly, intelligently in public life. Another good thing about philosophy is that philosophers question authorities. Every claim, no matter where it comes from, is subject to scrutiny. That is the motto of philosophy. Even common sense is not taken for granted. There's sometimes one common sense view and clashes with another common sense view. Even if some common sense views do not stand to critical scrutiny. So in that aspect, science and philosophy both they are trying to revise the common sense. Then philosophy also has the side effects. Well, it makes you aware that simplest things are not really, are most difficult to answer. You gain deeper understanding of the problems through discussion. It awakes you from your dogmatic slumber, teaches you to be grateful to those who prove you wrong. Philosophy, that is a very good lesson which philosophy teaches us, that in philosophical deliberation, unlike a political meeting, we respect each other. If a voice is heard which is opposed to your view, we welcome it. We do not, if you are a true philosopher, you will encourage disagreement, You will encourage the points of view, other points of view, and you will also defend your answer. If you can't say that this is my view, therefore this is correct. You must have reasons to defend your answer. So it calls for both creativity and rigor. It makes you articulate in speaking and writing. That is a very necessary thing in nowadays. Clarity in thinking, speaking and writing and reasoning. All these things are connections worth emulating. Now, suppose we do not have philosophy. This is the last thing I will say. If philosophy does not address these questions, these important questions, someone else will address. And you know who are the persons who can go in, who are trying to address such questions. Those who oppose philosophy are consigning to a bad philosophical treatment of all philosophical questions, ultimate questions, whose answers guide us most of our lives. There are many dubious gurus, religious fundamentalists, imposters, those who spread blind belief and faith, those in the name of whatever you call it. They try to step into the area and they would have their opinion. So philosophy has a role to play to eliminate blind faith, wrong beliefs, and it should be, and there is a need for these kind of things. Otherwise, if you do not do philosophy, if you do not take up these questions for discussion, then there will be others who take it up. And there are many imposters, there are many fundamentalists, religious fundamentalists, gurus who will come forward, and a rationalist will have a brother in philosophy. Philosophical reasoning is rational thinking, and they have no substitute. They have a necessity all the time. If we do not encourage philosophy, then there will be superstitions and blind faiths and all these things will come to the area. Another thing, there are many other things which I could not cover, because when we talk of philosophy, we are not saying that philosophy is not, when I started I said that it is not empirical information. But one thing is that to be a good philosopher, you cannot say that philosophy is completely conceptual and no empirical data is necessary. You may not be a specialist in science, but you must be aware of the empirical facts, whether in social sciences or in natural sciences. More you know, the better you are in doing philosophy. Your knowledge is an aid in doing philosophy. Otherwise, philosophy would be, as one philosopher has said, it would be unethical to do ethics without ascertaining the facts. In the world, if 3% of the population have 75% of the resources for their consumption, if the rest of the percentage, 97% of the people are below the poverty line, they are struggling to live a honorable life. Philosophers, those who are talking about equality, those who are talking of human rights, those who are talking about this, they must open to these observations. These facts are these facts are necessary. Without awareness of these facts, we cannot do ethics or social philosophy, moral philosophy cannot be done. So, ascertaining the facts and doing something for the poor, doing something for the downtrodden, protecting human rights, these are the questions on which we need to collaborate with science. We cannot say that philosophy is only conceptual analysis. Philosophy is an activity where we have to be socially relevant. We must also try to ascertain the social facts for that purpose. Thank you all for giving me patient listening. I'm sorry that I could not make the presentation. It was a failure. But for now, we can ask questions for that.
Okay, thanks so much, sir, for your reflective thought on doing philosophy. It is a totally new subject for all of us, though we are the teachers of philosophy and students of philosophy. So today you have strengthened our thought. Sir, at first you have told what philosophy is not, and by telling what philosophy is not, you have stated that philosophy is not a collection of information but a body of doctrine. It is an activity, and it begins with wonder and opens questions. And you have said how if the questions which are not answered by science, they have to be answered, they have to be taken up by philosophy. And philosophical questions have a particular form. The questions, the philosophical questions that primarily rely on critical thinking. They are interpretive, creative, and diverse. And today you have given a very beautiful concept, that is thought experiment. That is doing philosophy is conducting thought experiment. You have taken different ethical dilemma on environmental issue and said how the thought experiment can help us, can develop in inner thought. It can really develop how to clarify, improve, and organize our ideas and concepts. Thanks so much, sir. Now, I would like to request Dr. K. Omnan Rao to carry on the interactive session. No.
Sir, I think we shall go with the second talk and then we should carry the interaction because it's not the same time.
Due to the positive time, may I request our teacher and teacher of teachers, Prof.Saroj Kumar Mohanty, sir, to start